It's a rather dreary Sunday afternoon. It's a little rainy out, so I thought that I would just stay inside today. I'm pretty much of a homebody whenever it starts to get colder. But yeah, it's a little rainy, so I figured I would stay inside and just relax, plop my keister on the couch, and just watch a movie. And so I decided to watch Terminator 2. And it seemed apropos. It's almost Halloween. Seemed like a good flick to watch. Hadn't seen it in a while. And so got maybe 20 minutes in. And yeah, it's the impetus for the idea for this video. So I paused it. It's paused over there. And so I'm over here making the video. And once I'm done, I'm going to go back over and watch it again. So finish the movie off. But yeah, this video is going to be about how a manipulative woman, how she learns what a man's wounds are and then uses them later against him. And so, yeah, just think back to a manipulative woman that you dated or were married to. It'll be helpful for you, I guess, to and also maybe entertaining. Like, yeah, I remember that was wild, or I don't know. Just for whatever reasons, educational purposes, entertainment, confirmation bias, what have you, whatever you need it for. It'll also be very helpful for any dude out there that's currently in a relationship like that, and especially if they don't know it. This might save you. So might help shine some light on what's going on, and you can get out of a bad situation. But yeah, so just think about here. In the beginning, she wasn't curious about you, not the way that you thought. She was collecting data. She was collecting and mining data, right? From the start, she wasn't drawn to you the way that you thought she was. She wasn't drawn to who you were. She was scanning you, right? And not in an emotional sense, but in a diagnostic sense, like a T-800 Terminator assessing targets, right? Calculating variables, assessing threat levels, mapping out how you move and why. And just she didn't ask personal questions because she wanted to get to understand you and develop emotional intimacy. No, she asked so she could build a psychological profile, right? Every answer that you gave her, it provided her with insight into very important data. What mattered to you, what shaped you, what you were afraid of, where you'd compromise, all that good stuff, right? So all that very, very juicy intel. And so meanwhile, you thought that you were building trust together, right? But in reality, she was gathering leverage. But it went deeper than observation. She didn't just listen to you, she measured you, and she didn't just notice things, she recorded them. And I mean in her mind, I don't mean she actually recorded them, but she could have done that too. I don't know. So some women are crazy like that, but um and that is why everything that followed felt so personal, because it wasn't built on any, it was built on information that you freely gave her. I mean, rewind the tape. She didn't pay attention to you as if you were a partner, as if she cared. She paid attention the way a strategist would, right? She watched how you explained yourself when someone questioned your intent, or or maybe how you like that. She tracked how you responded to being misunderstood or ignored, or feeling minimized in some capacity. She didn't respond to these moments with any level of care. She didn't store them as memories. She stored them as weapons. And the more that she learned, the more calculated she became. She would update her operating system with the new data. Like every mistake that you forgave, it signaled to her just how much she could get away with later. Every time that you softened during an argument, she recorded how much pressure you could take before you started backing down. Your silence, your patience, your grace, these things that you dispensed, they didn't earn her respect. They revealed your limits, and once she knew your limits, she adapted. So she was never sharing. She was shaping herself around you. I mean, especially in the beginning, you mistook her agreement for connection and her mirroring as compatibility, right? She would, repeated your phrases and adapted or adopted your standards and echoed your frustrations. It really felt like to you, it felt like she understood you in a way that no one else had. But she wasn't becoming aligned with you. Y'all were not equally yoked or anything like that. She was becoming adaptable. She adjusted herself to fit your expectations. She learned what you found admirable and exaggerated those traits. She learned what made you drop your guard and leaned into those moments. She understood that if she showed empathy early, you'd open doors and just roll out the red carpet for her when she hadn't really earned the right to walk through those doors yet. What felt organic was actually engineered. And then as soon as you trusted the version that she presented, she no longer had to maintain it. And then throughout, she used your honesty to build a playbook, right? There was no intimacy developing. It was purely a playbook. So just think back to when I don't know, you told her about your dad, right? And your relationship with him and in the past with your dad, right? And then she used it later in an argument to undermine you, right? Or, you shared a betrayal and what it had done to you. And then she held on to that story and then used that against you, right? She used that, she waited until it was useful to use that during a deflection, or maybe you told her, what you never, ever, ever wanted to become. And then she brought it up the moment you stopped agreeing with her. You handed her the script thinking you were building intimacy. She turned it into a manual on how to gain control without appearing controlling. Like, she didn't just weaponize your weaknesses, she exploited your openness. And so I think that's what makes it so painful. And once she had the playbook, the performance started to fade away. Like, it was because she no longer needed to win you over. She just needed to manage you and maintain what she was doing. And the shift wasn't sudden. Of course, it came in stages. I mean, you didn't just wake up one day and realize that she was manipulating you. I mean, the signs were there. They were there, plain as day. You just kept giving her the benefit of the doubt, right? Like, you thought she was emotionally overwhelmed. She wasn't. She was emotionally strategic. The warmth didn't fade because she was struggling. It faded because it was no longer needed. She already knew how to steer you in whichever direction she needed. She didn't need to keep pretending. Where you thought you had closeness, now you had compliance, okay? And because she never, raised her voice or made any, overt threats or anything like that, you kept questioning whether anything was really wrong at all, And that confusion right there, that was the point. It was, if you doubt yourself, you won't question her. And so, but she didn't argue with you. She argued with the version of you she created. When you think up to a time when you finally gave pushback, she didn't engage with what you said. She reframed it. Suddenly, you were projecting, you were angry, you were not the same man you used to be, right? But none of that was rooted in reality. It was rooted in the version of you she could control. She didn't need you to be wrong necessarily. She just needed you to feel unstable. And once she could define your tone and question your intentions or label your boundaries as emotional dysfunction, the content of the disagreement no longer mattered. The focus shifted from what she did to how you reacted. That's how she avoided accountability. I mean, as long as you defended your character instead of confronting her behavior, she stayed in control, right? And she didn't see your vulnerability as something to protect and honor. She saw it as a tool, plain and simple. She learned which tone made you step back. She discovered that being disappointed in you was way more effective than raising her voice. She was able to figure out that if she referenced your past, she could shut down any attempt that you made to hold her accountable. And that wasn't accidental. That was conditioning. I mean, technically you did become weaker, um, because you had to adjust. You had to keep adjusting yourself, right? You acquiesced the death of a thousand cuts, all these small compromises, right? You became careful with your words to avoid having them twisted. You picked your battles, and not out of wisdom, but out of exhaustion. You held back to avoid pointless arguments. You silenced parts of yourself just to keep the peace, right? She had drained you to the point where defending your intentions, just it felt pointless. You were losing yourself, and I guess you accepted being managed at that point. And her manipulation, it didn't, I mean, it shined a light on where your weaknesses were. It revealed where you were unguarded. She manipulated you because you let your guard down, but also because you cared, because you were expressive, because you gave her access no one else had been given, because you thought that there was trust and intimacy built. And instead of protecting what she learned about you, she saved it. She saved it for when she needed it to tip the scale in her favor. A woman like this doesn't operate through chaos. She operates through control. She doesn't create storms. She creates patterns, right? The more stable and self-aware the man, the more subtle and strategic her methods have to be. That's why you missed it. You were blinded by her act, and she was good at it. She was really good at it. I mean, she didn't stumble into this behavior. She practiced it. She tested boundaries. She learned what worked and what didn't. She did some A/B testing. I mean, you weren't chosen because you were easy. You were chosen because you were real, because you were loyal, because you believed in her potential, and because you believed the version she performed. You offered her a level of trust she could never earn on her own. She wasn't responding to who you were. She was responding to how much access you allowed. She didn't need to destroy you. She just needed to get you to question yourself. Doubt was the goal. Control was the reward. Like the version of her you were loyal to only existed in the opening act, right? Like once the image had done its job, the performance ended. Like what remained was the actual person, the one who saw you not as a partner but as a resource. You didn't experience heartbreak, you experienced extraction. She got what she came for, right? Access, control, compliance. And once you started resisting those terms, the connection fell apart. Not because you changed, but because you stopped being manageable. You finally woke up. Your guard went up again. The relationship didn't fail. The mask did. This wasn't a miscommunication. It was a manipulation that outlived its use. You weren't too sensitive. You weren't overthinking. Well, that's the thing. Maybe you should have been more overthinking, I guess. Should have thought more carefully, but it happens, man. Pretty face, can cause you to do dumb things. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say you were technically emotionally immature. You were targeted by someone who saw your openness as a shortcut to power. She entered with a grand performance, and stayed in control, and then exited once you stopped cooperating with the structure that she had built around your character. So there was no reconciliation to be had. No final talk that brings clarity. No version of her that turned around and apologizes for what she did. She knew exactly what she was doing. She just didn't expect you to figure it out, right? And once you did, everything changed. But I would say, yeah, maybe that does change you. I'd say, yeah, maybe I was wrong earlier. So a manipulative woman, once you figure her out, once you've experienced that situation, it does change you a lot for the better. I mean, it's painful in the beginning, but it really snaps you into reality, and you really develop your discernment. Hopefully, maybe not all guys. Some guys aren't as bright, but I don't know. But you're here listening to me, so I'm assuming that you're a bright fella. So, but yeah, we all make mistakes. But I mean, that's the thing, is the exit is clean because you are no longer confused. Like you don't leave a situation like this to prove a point. You leave because once the performance is exposed, there's nothing left to discuss. You're not asking questions anymore. You're not trying to make her see the damage. You're not looking for a return to the version of her that made you stay. She was never that version. That was a role. That was a character. And now that role, that character is no longer effective. She has nothing left to offer you but the reality that you were ignoring. You saw it, you accepted it, and you left. And not to be vindictive or to make a scene or anything like that. It was not to win some emotional chess move. You left because what you used to question is now clear. It's just now clear, and nothing more needs to be said. Because now you've seen it. And the version of you that would have tolerated it doesn't exist anymore. And thank God. Thank God. So that's what I wanted to say, and that's what I'll leave you with. That's what I came up with. That's what I cooked up by watching 20 minutes of Terminator 2. And I'm going to go back to watching it. I hope you enjoyed this. Like this, share this, leave a comment, engage with others, share your story, what's going on. Hopefully this woke up a lot of men who are in this situation and can exit cleanly. And so, but yeah, otherwise it was a way to, if you've already been through this, then it's a nice little piece of entertainment for you to be like, yep, I remember that, and thank God I'm over it. Thank God that is no longer me. And either you found someone that isn't like that, that's healthy, or you're single and doing your own thing and making a dent in the universe. But either way, appreciate you guys. Take care.